A small craft drifted alone through the endless black, its engines cold and its lights dimming like distant stars. Inside, a lone creature lay curled on a narrow bunk, its pale skin marked by old scars that pulsed faintly with each shallow breath. It opened tired eyes and remembered the day it was left behind, again when its own kind had jumped away at the last moment, sealing the hatch and racing off into safety. The memory stung like frostbite, a sharp ache in its chest, for it had hoped this time would be different. It had hoped for a friend, for a hand to hold, for someone to say, "You belong." But as the ship went dark around it, hope flickered and died like the sensors that tracked the stars. Still, the creature refused to let despair swallow it completely. It rose from the bunk with trembling limbs and staggered to the control panel, its three-fingered hand brushing dust from the cracked screen. Focusing on the faintest of signals, it realized there was one last chance, a human freighter passing at the fringe of known space. The creature's heart hummed with cautious excitement. Humans were unpredictable and strange, but they had carried legends of kindness that spread like gentle wildfire across the outer colonies. Gathering its courage, it keyed a simple distress call in the universal language it had learned from a damaged archive. Distress beacon active. Small life form. Request rescue. The words echoed in the empty cabin, a plea sent into silence. For hours, there was nothing but static. The creature's hope ebbed and flowed like the tide it had never seen. It touched the hatch with a claw, half expecting it to open on its own, half afraid of what would come through. Then, like a miracle born of desperation, the freighter's reply crackled through the speakers. "Unidentified vessel, this is HMS Valor. Beacon received. Hold position. Rescue en route." The creature's chest fluttered, as if its ribs were wings. It stumbled back to the bunk and pressed its forehead against the cool metal wall. Tears pooling in its eyes for the first time in years, it did not understand human tears, but it sensed their meaning. Relief and gratitude flooded its mind. Later, it watched through the cracked viewport as the enormous silhouette of the Valar grew larger against the stars. Brilliant lights cut through the void, and a docking claw reached out like a gentle hand. The hatch hissed open with a sound like breathing, and a tall human in a white suit knelt at the threshold, offering a gloved hand. The creature's breath caught at the sight of warm skin beneath the glove, at the promise in the human's eyes. That said, "You are safe." It hesitated only a moment, the weight of its old fears pressing at the back of its mind, then placed its claw in the human's palm. The suit's interior was bright and surprisingly quiet, filled with soft lights and the gentle hum of machinery. The human guided the creature to a medical bay, where nurses moved with calm efficiency, wrapping it in clean blankets and administering soothing medicines. The creature felt warmth bloom in its chest, a feeling it had never known outside of stolen memories. When the medicine stilled its pain, it drifted into a dreamless sleep, cradled in a human's arms. In those hours before dawn, it dreamed of gentle fields and glassy blue water, of voices that whispered its name and welcomed it home. And when it woke, the creature opened its eyes to find the human smiling down at it. In that soft gaze, the creature saw the first true spark of friendship it had ever known. For the first time, it dared to believe it would never be left behind again. The creature awoke to soft voices and gentle light streaming through the translucent panels of the medical bay. It blinked its large reflective eyes and saw the human who had rescued it leaning close, her dark hair tied back in a loose braid and her warm brown eyes full of concern. She offered it a small, pale tray of fruit slices and nutrient gel. And though the flavors were foreign, a sweet temp spread through the creature's mouth and warmed its belly. She introduced herself as Rhea in a voice as comforting as a lullaby, and each time she spoke, the creature felt a little less afraid. Rhea sat beside it on the padded bench, her uniform crisp but welcoming, and she showed the creature simple hand motions pointing at the fruit, then at herself, and then at the creature to teach it words like eat, Rhea, and you. The creature's three-fingered hand hovered over a slice of purple starfruit. Its nerves trembled with uncertainty, but when Rhea placed her own gloved hand beneath its claw, it felt a spark of trust and let itself be guided. Together they ate in silence, sharing warmth and momentary peace. Later, when Rhea led the creature into a quiet corridor bathed in soft blue light, the creature's heart fluttered as it listened to the hum of the ship's Ingenza, sound that now felt less like a distant threat and more like a steady heartbeat. Rhea showed it to a small cabin furnished with a cot and a window overlooking the endless black canvas of space. The cot's surface was cool but soft. The creature hesitated only a moment before curling up on a blanket Rhea had laid out. Rhea knelt beside the cot and placed a small, woven toy at the creature's side, an object she said was called a comfort doll, and the creature's eyes widened at its simple smile and stitched features. For the first time, it felt a gentle tug at the hollow places inside it, as if this small gesture began to stitch together the ragged edges of its broken heart. That night, Rhea kept a silent vigil by the window, her silhouette steady against the stars. The creature watched her from the cot, memorizing the curve of her shoulder and the slow rise and fall of her breath. When the creature dared to reach out, Rhea slipped her hand forward without a word, and the creature placed its claw in her palm. Her fingers closed around it lightly, and the creature felt a pulse of warmth like a promise. In that silent embrace, loneliness evaporated, replaced by a gentle certainty that it was no longer alone. Over the next hours, as the ship drifted on toward the next jump point, Rhea taught the creature more words, simple phrases like friend, safe, and home. The creature repeated them haltingly at first, its voice a soft chirp, then with growing confidence until its speech tumbled over itself in excitement. Each time the creature succeeded, Rhea's smile shone brighter, and the creature felt a rush of pride warm its chest.
Ow.
When the creature stumbled over a new word, and its voice wavered, Rhea reached out to steady its claw, whispering patience and encouragement. Under her gentle guidance, the creature experienced the rare and precious feeling of being understood. As the freighter glided past distant nebulae that glowed like wavering auroras, Rhea and the creature shared stories of their worlds. Rhea spoke of Earth's oceans that stretched to the horizon, a forest so dense and alive that sunlight sparking through leaves felt like falling stars. The creature, in turn, described floating crystal reefs where its people once gathered, and fields of bioluminescent flowers that lit the night in soft violet waves. Rhea listened with rapt attention, her eyes alight with wonder, and the creature realized that this human valued its memories and its voice. When laughter finally bubbled between them, Rhea's melodious, light laughter and the creature's joyous chirp, the sound felt like music carved from starlight. In that moment, the creature understood that the kindness of one human could heal a heart that had been abandoned time and again. It lay back on the cot, chest swelling with a warmth it could not name, and whispered its first true word, home. Rhea's eyes glistened as she pressed a gentle kiss to the top of its head and murmured, "You are my friend, and this is your home now." For the creature, those words were more than sound. They were a binding vow, stronger than any promise it had ever known. The day began with soft tremors as the freighter slipped through a drifting asteroid cluster. The creature awoke before dawn, its senses alive with the gentle rumble beneath the floor. It crept from its cot and padded quietly down the corridor, until it found Rhea already at the observation deck, her silhouette outlined by the pale glow of distant stars. She turned and smiled when she saw the creature standing beside her, the beginnings of a new day reflected in its bright eyes. Rhea reached out and pointed toward a cluster of amber rocks drifting past the viewport. "Asteroids," she said, her voice steady and calm. The creature's heart fluttered at the sight of so many ancient stones floating together in silent dance. It whispered the word after Rhea, asteroid, and felt the syllables roll off its tongue like smooth pebbles. Rhea laughed softly, and the sound was as warm as sunlight on cold metal. Together, they stepped onto the deck platform that hung over the void. Rhea activated a small transmitter, and the rocks ahead glowed with tracer lines on the holographic map between them. The creature reached out to touch the floating symbols, its fingers tracing the path of each rock as if memorizing a secret language. Rhea explained how miners sometimes gathered valuable metals from clusters like these. The creature's eyes widened at the thought of hidden treasures waiting in the dark. They moved on to the engineering bay, where the ship's hum pulsed deeper. Rhea showed the creature control panels with blinking lights and coiled conduits, explaining in careful words how each system worked to keep the ship alive. The creature mirrored her motions, pressing a button with tentative curiosity and watching. A meter climb. The simple act of touching steel and glass filled it with pride. This was a place it could help. A place it belonged. For lunch, Rhea offered the creature a bowl of steaming noodles flavored with spicy broth. The creature had never felt warmth spread through its belly like this before. Each slurp echoed like laughter in its mind, and it grinned at Rhea between bites. Rhea offered chopsticks, and though the creature's three-fingered grip made the task awkward, she guided its claw until it held them firmly. When the creature finally scooped a strand of noodle into its mouth, Rhea clapped her hands in delight. In the afternoon, the creature found itself in the ship's greenhouse, a domed chamber filled with spindly plants and drifting pollen. Rhea knelt beside a small fern and explained how Earth's life depended on oxygen and sunlight. The creature inhaled the fresh green air and felt a joy so simple it made its chest ache. It reached to brush a soft frond and watched as tiny spores floated upward like golden dust. Rhea whispered, "Life," and the creature echoed the word, letting it blossom inside. Later, they visited the cargo hold, where crates of supplies were stacked high. Rhea asked the creature to help move a lightweight box of medical kits. Together they slid it across the floor, matching each other's rhythm as if dancing.
Oh.
Creature felt the pull and push of the crate beneath its palm, and in that shared effort it felt stronger and useful for the first time in its life. As evening approached, Rhea invited the creature to join the crew's dinner in the common hall. The noise and chatter startled it, but Rhea stayed by its side, offering a hand to squeeze when voices rose too loud. One by one, curious humans greeted the creature with friendly nods and gentle words. The creature dipped its head in return, surprised at how welcomed it felt among strangers. After dinner, Rhea led the creature back to its cabin and placed a small pillow beneath its head. The creature curled up with the woven comfort doll and closed its eyes, heart still humming from the day's wonders. Rhea lingered at the door, her hand resting on the frame, and the creature opened one eye to see her gentle smile. Then it whispered, "Thank you, Rhea," and drifted into sleep, certain that for the first time would never be left behind again. A sudden tremor ran through the freighter just after breakfast, rattling dishes and echoing through corridors like distant thunder. The creature felt its heart jump as lamps flickered and the gentle hum of the engines wavered. Rhea appeared in the doorway, her brow furrowed, but voice calm as she guided it forward. "Follow me," she said, slipping her hand into the creature's claw. Together they hurried down to the control room, where panels glowed erratically and alarms pulsed. With urgent red light, Rhea knelt beside a console and explained in clear, simple words that a solar flare storm was racing toward them, threatening to overload systems and leave the ship adrift. The creature's chest tightened at the idea of floating alone in dark space again. But Rhea squeezed its hand and whispered, "We face this together." They worked side by side. Rhea rerouted power from non-essential systems while the creature, remembering how she showed it before, adjusted coolant valves and reset circuit links. Sparks danced behind a broken panel, but neither flinched, trusted the other to keep going. As heat warnings blared, the creature found strength in Rhea's steady presence and in its own growing confidence. The storm hit like a wave of burning light, battering the ship with invisible fire and shaking, the hull so hard it felt alive. In the midst of the chaos, Rhea wrapped a protective arm around the creature, shielding it from a burst of static energy. Their breaths came fast, but they did not let fear stop them. After tense moments that stretched like hours, the storm passed and the alarms fell silent one by one. The control room lights steadied, and the engines hummed back to life. Rhea exhaled and turned to the creature, her eyes shining with relief and pride. The creature's own chest felt warm with exhilaration. Together, they had saved the ship. Rhea lifted its claw to her lips and pressed a gentle kiss there, then smiled. In that shared triumph, the creature tasted something sweeter than victory, belonging. As they walked back through the now quiet corridors toward the observation deck, the stars twinkled once more through the viewport. The creature knew that no matter what storms lay ahead, it would never face them alone. The freighter slid into the great port of Aurora Station as twilight bathed the stars in soft lavender light. The creature stood beside Rhea at the airlock, its heart fluttering like a bird released from a cage. When the doors opened, a gentle breeze scented with alien flowers drifted in. Rhea held the creature's claw and led it onto a wide platform where the station's gardens stretched beneath transparent domes. Crystalline walkways wound through fields of tall grasses that glowed faintly at their edges. The creature's breath caught as color bloomed before its eyes. Pinks, golds, and blues weaving together like living light. Rhea guided the creature along a path lined with slender trees whose leaves shimmered like mirrors. Soft water dripped from raised basins, creating the steady murmur of hidden streams. The creature knelt to touch the water's surface, feeling cool ripples brush its fingertips. Rhea smiled and whispered, "Life grows strong here." The creature nodded, its throat tight with wonder. For the first time, it felt part of something vast and beautiful, a tapestry woven from many worlds. Its old fears felt like distant echoes, overshadowed by the warmth that bloomed in its chest. They paused beside a grove of tall, flowering plants that bent toward the light. Rhea picked a single pale blossom and tucked it gently behind the creature's ear. The petals glowed softly against its skin. The creature turned to Rhea, uncertainty flickering in its eyes, but Rhea's steady gaze calmed its spirit. She said softly, "You belong," and the creature felt those words settle in its bones, like roots taking hold in warm soil. In that moment, the creature knew that home was not a place, but a promise kept by those who stand by you. A group of station inhabitants passed by scientists in crisp white uniforms, traders with bright scarves and children laughing as they chased small robotic birds. Each greeted Rhea and the creature with nods and smiles. When a curious child reached out to pat the creature's soft head, the creature's ears quivered with surprise and delight. It stooped low so the child could touch its skin, and laughter bubbled from both of them. Rhea watched with pride, her eyes shining. The creature realized that it had become an ambassador of kindness. Bridging worlds with simple joy, they found a lookout balcony, where pale light filtered through mist that drifted from hidden fountains. Rhea sat on a smooth bench and patted the space beside her. The creature curled up, its form small against Rhea's side. From there, they could see the green world below a planet, covered in forests, rivers winding like silver ribbons, and cities that glowed at night. Rhea explained that this world was called Terra, her home. The creature listened as she spoke of oceans and mountains, of winds that sang through open plains. As it watched the living planet spin beneath the sunlight, the creature felt a deep longing to learn all its secrets. Rhea took the creature's claw and pressed it gently to her heart. "This is where I was born," she said. "Are here with me?" The creature's chest swelled with feeling so strong it startled its mind. It pressed its head against Rhea's shoulder and closed its eyes, savoring the warmth that spread through every nerve. For the first time in its life, it knew what peace truly meant, a quiet confidence that someone would always be there, that its place in the universe was cherished and safe. As night fell on Aurora Station, soft lanterns along the pathways glowed like fireflies. Rhea led the creature back toward the freighter's airlock, her silhouette gentle against the lamplight. The creature turned and looked at the gardens, at the people, at the glowing planet beyond the dome. A soft chirp escaped its lips, its word for thank you in Rhea's language. Rhea leaned down and kissed the top of its head, whispering, "Thank you for trusting me." The creature squeezed her hand and whispered back, "Forever home." In that simple exchange, both knew their bond would endure across any distance, stronger than any star's pull. The creature's next journey carried it beyond the stars it had come to know so well, toward a glowing blue world that Rhea called Earth, as the ship descended through wisps of white clouds. The creature pressed its face to the viewport, marveling at the endless oceans that rippled beneath the sun's warm gaze, When the airlock opened on a windswept airfield edged with emerald grass, Rhea gently guided the creature's claw through hers, feeling the pulse of life thrumming in each blade of grass. The first raindrop fell, cool and soft against the creature's skin, and it lifted its head as more drops followed in a gentle chorus, each one painting its cheeks in sparkling rivulets. Rhea laughed and dipped her head so the creature could taste the rain. She called it refreshing, and the creature understood that this was how Earth welcomed newcomers. They traveled then to a bustling city, where children's laughter echoed. Between towering buildings, a little girl with braided hair and bright eyes ran forward, offering the creature a hand-woven bracelet of polished stones. The creature hesitated only a moment before accepting the gift, its heart fluttering like a hummingbird. Every time the bracelet's smooth beads shifted on its wrist, it remembered that kindness could come from strangers as easily as from friends. Rhea squeezed its claw and said, "This is home too." That evening, Rhea led the creature to her own home, a small, warmly lit house nestled beneath ancient oaks. Inside, the walls were lined with photographs of Rhea as a child, standing beside siblings on sandy beaches and laughing beneath the same stars the creature now knew. Rhea showed the creature a window seat piled high with soft pillows and blankets, just its size, and placed a small chest beside it. Opening the chest, the creature found carefully folded closed gentle fabrics in blues and greens, and a tiny scrapbook filled with drawings Rhea had made, of a hopeful little being and a human standing arm in arm beneath a starlit sky. When the creature looked up, Rhea's eyes shone with tears of joy and promise. The creature felt its own eyes grow warm as it realized that forever home was more than words. It was this very life Rhea had laid out for it, a place of laughter and rain, of gentle gifts and quiet rooms made just for it. That night, as thunder rumbled softly in the distance, the creature curled in its new window nook, the scrapbook open on its lap, and the bracelet's stones cool against its wrist. It whispered one word, Rhea's first gift of language, its choice of name for this place, home. In the soft glow of the room, the creature dreamed of tomorrows filled with rain, laughter, and the gentle certainty that it would never be left behind again. The creature awoke before dawn in its window nook, the first light of morning filtering through half-open curtains. It stretched each slender limb and gazed at the small scrapbook lying open beside it. The pages held drawings of its journey, the dark cabin of a broken ship, the gentle hand that reached through the hatch, the glowing gardens of Aurora Station, and finally, the cozy nook in Rhea's house. As the creature ran its fingers over the pencil lines, its heart swelled with quiet pride. It had come so far from the lonely traveler left behind, and now, every memory was a testament to a life reborn in kindness. Rhea found the creature in the living room, where the sunlight danced on the wooden floor. She knelt and offered a steaming cup of sweet herbal tea. The creature took the cup in both claws, feeling warmth seep into its palms, and gently sipped. The tea's gentle bitterness reminded it of distant forests back home, and a soft smile curved its mouth. Rhea watched it with loving eyes. The creature realized that even simple mornings now held a gentle magic. That afternoon they traveled to a nearby spaceport, where ships of every shape and color lined the docks like exotic birds. The creature walked beside Rhea, its posture tall and confident. For the first time, it felt the curious eyes of travelers warm rather than wary. A young pilot approached with nervous excitement and asked the creature if it might guide him to Docking Bay 7. The creature's eyes lit with delight. It led him along the curved walkways, pausing to point out caution signs and safety railings. When the ship settled smoothly in its berth, the pilot turned to the creature and bowed. "Thank you, friend," he said. The creature felt a rush of happiness that outshone any fear it had ever known. Later, Rhea and the creature returned, home carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers' violet blooms that nodded their heads like shy dancers. Rhea placed them in a slender glass vase on the dining table. The creature watched the flowers sway and thought of how its own life had blossomed. Once, it had no place and no name, and now, it had a home and a family. It pressed its forehead to Rhea's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for giving me life." Rhea hugged it close and said simply, "You gave me family." As night settled in, the creature sat on the porch swing that Rhea had installed for them. The world was quiet, except for a gentle breeze that rustled fallen leaves. Tiny fireflies rose from the grass like floating lanterns. The creature let its three-fingered hand hover among them, and one firefly landed on its claw, glowing softly. It closed its eyes and whispered a word in its own ancient tongue, a name for hope. In the soft glow, it saw the memory of every moment. That had let it hear the fear, the rescue, the friendship, and the home. All woven together into a tapestry of love. Rhea joined the creature on the swing, her hand finding its claw in the dark. They sat in peaceful silence, hearts beating in quiet harmony. The creature thought of all the lonely beings still drifting in the void, abandoned and afraid. It squeezed Rhea's hand and said, "Tomorrow we help them find home too." Rhea smiled and nodded, her eyes shining with shared purpose. When the creature finally returned to its nook for sleep, it tucked the scrapbook under its arm and closed the curtains against the night. It curled into the soft blankets and pressed the comfort doll against its chest. Its thoughts drifted to the first distress call it had sent in the moment the hatch had opened. Back then, it had hoped for rescue. Now, it hoped for more, to be a beacon of kindness, shining its light into dark corners of space. As sleep claimed it, the creature's final thought was a simple promise. It would never leave anyone behind again. In that vow lay the true power of its forever home and endless circle of compassion that began with a human named Rhea and now extended across the stars.